And then my spiritual awakening experience happened when I was living alone in Prague in the middle of the night. It was around 3 a.m. And I just woke up and I felt this presence inside of my body that I never felt before. And it wasn't a bad presence. It was like a neutral feeling, but it scared me because I'm like, what is this feeling? I've never experienced anything like this in my life. And I felt the need to open my laptop and these words started flowing through me.
Welcome to the Time Has Come podcast. My name is Graham Wardle, and today I have Eric John Campbell on the show. Eric is a man who wrote a number of books now, and I found his books while moving around online as we do, and something is shown to us and we go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was looking for. I had been asking myself this question about how to really bring my gift into this world, how to generate wealth, abundance. And I was perplexed and distraught at all the books and stuff that I had seen and read out there. They were great. There was lots of little pieces in there and insights, and I thought they were very valuable. However, it always sort of was about learning someone's particular way, about how to give your gifts into this world, how to generate wealth, how to step into abundance. You know, copy my 5-step plan to make $1 million in under a year, or do this real estate portfolio hack. And I thought there's gotta be a way, there's gotta be a book out there. And if there's not, maybe I need to write it, because I feel like this is such an important message about how to tap into your unique gift, how to share that with the world, and how to cut through all the BS and get right to the core. And then I found Eric's work. His book, Your Unique Path to Wealth, have read now for 3 times, and I loved it. And so I reached out to Eric and I said, Eric, I'd love to have you on the podcast and interview you about your work, about your mission, and about what you're doing in life and your whole process and journey, because he has a beautiful story of how he came to where he is today. So we're gonna be talking with him about his books. He has a manual for manifesting your dream life and also your unique path to wealth. And he has a beautiful story about how he came to writing these books, because he wasn't always an author in this sort of genre of work. So I'm excited to talk with him, and I'm going to read his little bio here for you before we bring him up on stage. Eric John Campbell had an obsession with online business, and it took him around the world, living in 8 countries while connecting with fellow entrepreneurs. But that all changed when he had a sudden spiritual awakening, and he began channeling words such as, "Wake up, it's all energy." He left behind this old world, and he dove into clairvoyance, breath work, and crystal Reiki, and found his calling in the dance of life as an author. Eric now writes spiritual guides like A Manual for Manifesting Your Dream Life and Your Unique Path to Wealth, helping others empower them to create their dream life. So the time has come to welcome Eric John Campbell to the show. Eric.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm so
Awesome,
happy
dude.
it resonates.
Yeah, dude, for sure, man. I'm so excited to have you here. We're recording this podcast live with our Time Has Come audience, and I can see their comments here and their questions. So we're excited to have everybody here a part of this conversation. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to interview people and then include them in this conversation as well. So at the end of this, Eric, we're going to stay for the after party, and we're going to do a Q&A with everybody and answer their questions. But I got a bunch of my questions I want to ask you. And I want to start by asking, you're in Nepal right now. What are you doing there, and what's going on? How's Nepal?
Oh, my girlfriend and I were blown away by this country already. It already exceeded expectation. The food is some of the best I've ever had.
Nice.
And just seeing the mountain range with the snow-capped mountains is super special, and it feels very peaceful here.
Nice, dude. How long are you going to be there for?
So we're going to be here for 3 months total, and it's been almost a month now.
Wow, man. Wow. Exciting, dude. Are you going to visit the place, the birthplace of the Buddha?
I haven't decided yet. I feel like I should.
Okay.
All the buses, or a lot of the buses, it says the Buddha was born here. So it keeps feeling like a sign to go see it.
That's cool, man. Well, I thank you for being on the show, and thank you for giving us your time here to chat about your books and your work. Like I mentioned in the intro there, I've been inspired by your mission and your gift that you've brought into this world through your writing, and what you continue to do to help people tap into their unique gifts and to manifesting and building their dream life. So can you take us on a little bit of a journey? Because I'm assuming that Eric wasn't always this way. You talked about in your intro there, your biography, about you were in the online business world, and then you had a spiritual awakening, and now you're writing books. So who was Eric before, and who is Eric now?
I'd love to share and answer that question, but it's always changing. So I can only speak up until this moment.
Sure.
But When I was a kid, my whole identity was the entrepreneur. So I saw myself as obsessed with starting online businesses. The first thing I did when I was 13 years old was wrote a guide on how kids could make money in a game I was playing. It was called RuneScape, an online game.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
wrote
yeah.
like a step-by-step tutorial and sold it on eBay. And I couldn't believe people would pay for something that I wrote. And I was like so happy as a kid. And I didn't realize at the
Wow.
time it had writing in it. So in my mind, that was just the entrepreneurial thing. And then I went to school for entrepreneurship, always kept doing these random things online. And then eventually it started to feel like I'm getting good at sharing something, but I don't have anything to share. And I started to notice in a lot of the entrepreneurs that I hung out with, amazing people, that some of them felt like not such a strong purpose, even though they were having all this success and, abundance and sharing messages with the world. And then at the time, I was also bouncing between country to country, living the digital nomad life. And then my spiritual awakening experience happened when I was living alone in Prague in the middle of the night. It was around 3 a.m. And I just woke up and I felt this presence inside of my body that I never felt before. And it wasn't a bad presence. It was like a neutral feeling, but it scared me because I'm like, what is this feeling? I've never experienced anything like this in my life. And I felt the need to open my laptop and these words started flowing through me. And it was just completely channeled. Like I wasn't thinking what I was going to type. It just flew through my hands and it said, wake up, it's all energy. Wake up, it's all energy. And then that started a series of synchronicities where I met with this men's coach through a call in Prague that was last minute. And he said he's hosting a men's retreat in LA. And I just felt in my body another strong feeling I hadn't felt before. Like I have to be there. So I booked a ticket on the phone call, which was a financial stretch for me at the time. And then I flew to LA, left my stuff in Prague, thinking, of course, I'm going to come back. And I never went to get that stuff. I just stayed in LA. And that started so many synchronicities that eventually led to the author message as well.
Wow, dude. So what does that phrase mean to you now? Like, and when you heard it, and then also now how it's sort of probably, higher resolution for you, wake up, it's all energy. What does that mean to you? And what did it mean to you when you first heard it?
I love that question. At the moment, I think what it meant to me was rethink how I saw the world because there's more to life than I thought. Like, of course, we think we see the world as it is, but I just saw the world as I saw it. And this just gave me this feeling that there's so much that I don't know. And there's so much that I can learn and explore within myself. It's not like something to study in a book. I'm having this visceral experience in my body. But now what I think it is enjoying life for what it is, because appearances really don't matter. It's all that matters is how your life feels. So if your life feels good to you, it doesn't matter how it appears to other people. So when I use the phrase everything is energy, it makes me think I want a life that feels good. I want to have like good energy around me. And I want the same for everyone else, of course.
Beautiful, dude. Beautiful, man. This is what leads me to one of my questions here. One of my favorite parts of your book, The Manual for Manifesting Your Dream Life, you said, if you're only thinking about how great your dream life will be, while also being disappointed with your current life, then you will keep manifesting a life where you are unhappy in the present moment. So I would love for you to explain this to everybody, and this because this to me is really gets to the heart of your message. It's like how to understand how to come into this moment, like you said, with this energy of being here and now and loving your life. So can you explain this a bit more for everybody and kind of paint the picture for them?
Yeah, absolutely. What I think is really interesting about that quote is when I channel the books now, I don't have it all figured out and I write what I learned to teach others. It's like the book is teaching me what I most need to learn in the moment. And so that message is one of the probably the biggest lesson that I need to learn personally, which is why it came through the book. And I shared quotes from that book for 2 years. And I repeat the quotes that perform the best. And that quote and another variation of that quote by far outperformed all the other quotes. So I'm like, whoa, this is interesting. Other people resonate with this idea. I resonate with this idea. And where I've come to it now is to realize that there's always going to be something we can grow and reach for. And that's beautiful to have goals and to get excited about what's going to come. It's so much fun. But it's the classic thing where our life is happening now. It's not happening in a future moment. And it's so easy to just push away our happiness indefinitely or say once this storm passes or use external forces, like once this thing in the world passes, then I'll feel good. But there's always going to be something else that's going on, whether it's in a collective or in our individual lives. And I think especially with wealth, of course, it's like human nature. I want this desire. I want to have more in my life, more relationship, more love, more money, more purpose. But I actually think for most of us, the happiness is going to come from more appreciation for what we already have instead of the happiness that'll come from something that we don't yet have and we will have in the future, even if it is an amazing thing.
Yeah. And how does that attract or align you with your dream life by being grateful in this present moment and being, full of joy here and now? How does that align you with those goals or make those goals easier for you to, attain?
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to say this because everyone's situation is different. But for me personally, I always thought the dream life was in the future and not realizing that I'm already living the dream life. I'm already have a life that makes my heart happy. But as long as my mind keeps having the story that I still need to have this accomplishment before I can be happy, it prevents me from fully feeling the good things. It's like everything I need for a genuinely happy life is here, but I'm still reaching for something else that isn't going to really make it that much better.
Yeah. What causes that for you? Because I know what causes it for me. I'll share with you what that does for me. But what caused that for you? Is it just a mind thing where you're always focused on the future, thinking that will be the thing that will make you happy? Like what causes that sort of like disconnect from the present moment for you?
I would love to hear your answer as well. I think the one that comes up for me is it's a habit. So I feel like when I was growing up, I was very disconnected from my true self. And I was doing a lot of things that for the wrong reasons, just to like fit in with the group and fit in with other people. But I wasn't enjoying my life because I was so disconnected from myself. And that's, I think part of the reason there's like the good reason living in all these countries is to experience all this life. And then the shadow side is running from myself. And it's kind of both are true. So I feel like the more I get to know myself, the more I enjoy life and just kind of realize that the things that I'm reaching for were illusions. So for a lot of time, it's like, oh, once I have more money, then I'll be happy. But really, it's once I embrace my true self and share my true self with others, then I'll be happy. Yeah, and it feels like I just need a permission slip. So I was associating something that's not actually needed with what I genuinely want.
Amen, dude. And I love how you mentioned earlier how these books that as you were writing them, it was almost like a message for you. It was like you were writing them. It was like, this is what you need to hear too. For me, I have chased the future version of happiness or life because I was running from a pain of the past or something I was struggling to accept in the present moment. And so if I could just imagine a future that was better, then I maybe wouldn't have to feel the pain that I was feeling inside. So you mentioned that in your book, Your Unique Path to Wealth, about the difficult part is removing all the blocks that are in the way of your self-love, because self-love is a natural state. So how do you share with people about how to remove those blocks and return to your natural state of self-love and being here and now?
Yeah, I resonate with what you shared as well. I feel like the answer is always within you. It's not within someone else. It's not within me or my books. Like hopefully, and it's, of course, it's not within any podcast or any book. It's great to have a mirror that can help give you confirmation. But I believe that all of us know what to do. Is like one of my favorite quotes is all know the way, but few actually walk it. And I think it's like, if we're really honest with ourselves, we know the way, we know the next right step for us personally. It may not be the next step for anyone else, but we know what we should be doing. And I think the intuition will always reveal that next step. But sometimes when it feels like the world is telling you, you shouldn't do that step, you should do something else, it's really important to just have one voice, whether it's someone you know personally or some book or video, where someone says like, you're right, like that strange feeling that you see that makes you think you're crazy and so different from everyone else is actually the right step to take. And if you hear one person confirm that, then you feel you're not alone.
Yeah, dude. I have had many times in my life like that where I have been lost looking for different people to tell me what to do, reading different books, taking different courses. And it always came back to like inside where I was like, some of this is good, some of that, but what I want is this. And then there was that one person that said, yeah, you should try that. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been feeling. Like, thank you for just like, acknowledging or seeing that. And it's not like you should do this, you have to do this, it's very often just like somebody acknowledging it and seeing within me that excitement or that sort of like calling that I'm sort of expressing. They're like, yeah, maybe you should explore that. And then, then life takes you on a beautiful journey. So like your life has. So I'm I'm excited, man. And I really like this conversation because I think it really speaks to the crux of what my podcast I'm trying to share with people is how to get in tune with your own guidance system, whether they be a spiritual person, a religious person. And it's, they refer to that as God, or in your books, you'll often use the phrase, the universe. There is a guiding force that comes into our lives. And that is what I want to share with people. And that's why I'm so honored to have you on the podcast, because I feel like that mission is very close to what you're doing with your work, is to kind of guide people back to themselves so that they can hear that and then create their unique gift. So I want to ask you about that. You talk about that in your book, your unique gift. How would you describe your unique gift? This is one of our questions from our sovereign creators here, our members on timehascome.com. She asked Dia, she says, what is your unique gift? How do you explain that? And how do you encourage other people to find their own?
It's such an honor to be here. Yeah, thanks for sharing all that. One quick thing I'll just mention is I noticed that I didn't feel nervous before this podcast. And I just think it's because I resonate and agree so much with your message and what you're trying to do. And you're right, it's like spot on with what I believe. So I think you're helping so many people. And I just think that that's what it's all about. And thanks, I think my unique gift, I would say the more like tangible thing is the writing. So author, like just when I write the words, it feels different. I can feel something shift and energy passes through me. And then at the core level, it's self-love and intuition. I feel like if someone were to make a movie about my life and, the whole screen is saying like, yelling at the main character, like, what's the lesson you need to learn where everything shifts for you? It's like, just love yourself and everything works out. Yeah. And I actually had a future self meditation when I was in that experimental phase in Venice that forever shifted my life. It was like a North Star where last minute I was in this store and someone's like, I'm doing this meditation in 20 minutes. And I just felt like my heart race. I'm like, I have to be there. And in the meditation, I met my future self who felt the way I wanted to feel, manifested all the stuff. And I asked him, what'd you do differently? And then he said, the moment I decided to love myself, everything came. And I just felt like that's the gift. That's the journey. That's the whole thing.
Wow, dude. That's beautiful, man. We have another question from one of our audience members, Barbara. She expressed to me in her comment below the post when I said that I'm going to have you on the show. And she really wanted to be here, but her computer was having problems and stuff. So I'm not sure if she's here, Barbara, but if you are, I'm going to ask your question as best I can to Eric here. But I thought it was very powerful and it kind of speaks to what we're talking about now. She's struggling with this concept of self-love connecting to wealth. She doesn't see how they're connected. So she loves people and she wants to support them and be there for them and really help those people that are struggling in life. And I don't know if there's an identity block or a belief system around money for Barbara. She didn't mention this, but there's a disconnect for her. I guess she feels in some ways that if she were to have more money, that she wouldn't be able to love these people or serve these people in this way. It kind of conflicts in her mind. So she doesn't really see how self-love will help her with abundance and help her, move forward because she's struggling a bit financially. So could you maybe help paint the picture how that self-love will connect to more wealth and abundance for her, but also help her with her purpose and how she likes to support other people as well?
Yeah. It sounds like a beautiful intention. With her purpose, I don't know what specifically she does, but she has the desire to help others and to share love with the world. And I think that's amazing. And I think also that if we want to love others, we also have to love ourselves because we can't serve others if we're not serving ourselves. And at the core, we're all one. So there actually, in my mind, there's no difference between the self and the other from one perspective. There always is a difference. And at the same time, if you love others, you love yourself. And if you love yourself, you love others. And if you're not fully loving yourself, it's like a kink in the hose where the flow of your gift to other people isn't happening. And I know it's not specifically talking about money, but I think most of the time money is more of the mirror. It's like kind of the manifestation, but I want to get to the core of it. Mm-hmm. And the core is seeing that your gift is valuable. It's not what you do to help others that's valuable. It's your innate energy, your presence that's valuable. And then when you see it that way, then it feels like you can show up with the spaces where you're helping people, but you're also saying, I deserve to be compensated for my help. I deserve to receive the same amount of love that I give, because I know it's tempting to overgive. And I've definitely, had this feeling too, where my value comes from the amount that I give. but not for who I am. And therefore, my belief system keeps me in a state of lack because I don't feel that I deserve all the love that I feel that I can give others.
That's it, dude. Thank you for sharing that. That's profound. Exactly. And I also see a parallel in like relationships, where some people in relationships will give, but they're not able to receive in that relationship, or they get taken advantage of in that relationship, and it ends up, toxic or abusive. And so what I'm hearing you say, which I love, is very similar to money, where people want to give, but maybe they associate their value with how much they're giving, but not in their innate energy of who they are at their core. And so they have a hard time asking for, hey, I would like to receive something as well. I would want to feel good about this and receive something. So Barbara, I don't know if that's helpful for you, and hopefully you'll be able to join us in the after party and we can extend that question a bit more and explore that, because I know a lot of people struggle with that, belief systems around receiving. I have struggled with that a bit in my life, where I had trouble receiving from people. It was uncomfortable for me, and I derived my value by how much I could put out into the world and how much I could give to others. And so it was very hard for me. And I found myself in scenarios where people were taking advantage of me. And I was like, okay, I can't continue this, because it was depleting and not sustainable in the long run. So thank you for that answer, Eric. I want to switch gears here to the idea of a dream life. A lot of people talk about manifesting. There's the movies The Secret and books about this, and there's a lot of business and money around, here I'm going to sell you how to manifest your dream, or, your Lamborghini in the driveway. And one of the things that I liked about in the book was you were talking about the differences between your heart's desires and your ego's desires. So can you explain the difference between those two desires and how you navigate that, and how you sort of have channeled in your material, in your books, about those differences?
When I first wrote the book, A Manual for Manifesting Your Dream Life, I kept asking myself the question, what is my dream life? And I've had this feeling for a long time, ever since I was a kid, that if I know what I want, I can manifest it. Like I just somehow have the power. But the hard part was knowing what I want. And for me, that's always been the challenge. It's like, especially with the manual book, it says, whatever you focus your attention on grows. So I always believe if you really know what your heart's desire is, it's relatively easy to just focus all your attention on it and say, no matter what, this is my purpose. I feel it in my heart, like my bones, and you have that drive to make it happen. But so often I was disconnected from myself, where I didn't know what I wanted. And so many of the things that I thought I wanted, I didn't even realize at the time that were ideas that I inherited from other people that aren't actually true for making me happy. And it's such a relief, but also scary in the moment to peel back those layers and realize, like, wow, maybe I don't need this life that's so far out of reach for me. Maybe the life that I genuinely want is like really close to what I already have, and maybe just make a few shifts. Or even if you're not close to the life that you genuinely want, it's still relieving to know that you don't need what society says you want, because very often it's unattainable, or it's like largely unattainable. So if we follow society with money and say like, oh, the dream life is having millions and millions of dollars and going on all these fancy vacations, it's like some people, if they follow their genuine heart's desire, they can manifest all that money. But if your heart's desire doesn't lead you to that level of money, it doesn't mean you can't be happy. It doesn't mean you can't live your version of your dream life. I mean, whatever your dream life is beautiful. I see so many people everywhere I travel, and it's just like, regardless of the amount of money they have, they can be happy as long as they're living a life that feels good in their heart. So Amen. It's kind of like almost a cliche, but I just think it's so true. And it's something that I've struggled with, finding that out.
Yeah. I think there was some element about your ego's desires that you talked about in the book, about it's never enough, and it's like, it's never satisfying. And then the switch to the heart's desire is it's inspiring, and you're full of joy in this moment. Like when you're living, it's not like joy in the future. It's like when you're coming from the heart, it's like, oh, I love doing this. Like I feel good now, Mm-hmm. And I really like that distinction too. So I wanted to add that in there as well, because that's really helped me, Eric, and just being like, oh yeah, like, you hear these things from different people, but then sometimes it's like someone like yourself, and I read your book and I go, that's the way I needed to hear it. It's like, I've heard Alan Watts say this, if you had all the amounts of money that you wanted, what would you do with your life? If money wasn't an option, what would you really do? And so I've heard that before, and I've heard many people say that in different ways. And then the way you have presented it as well, I go, that's what I needed to hear, because I'm surrounded by content, like you said, about society being like, this is what you should want. If you're a man, you should grind, you should hustle, and you should, grind your soul into the pavement to make something of yourself. And I'm like, I'm disciplined. I want to work hard, but I don't want to grind my soul away. You know, that's not, so did you ever come from that place? Were you in that world when you were doing the online businesses and stuff? Like, did you ever transition through that world of grinding your soul?
Absolutely. And I saw the swing too. So you have the message that's like grind your soul, hustle culture. And then there's the swing, which is it's not worth doing, like completely give it up. There's no point in having discipline, like just enjoy life. And then it's the extreme in the opposite direction. And both could be true to you. But the question is, what life do you want to live? Like what makes you feel good? And I think for probably a relatively small amount of people, going full on in that discipline hustle culture is actually their heartstream life. And they love it, like every moment of it, just being optimized and everything. But for me, I definitely swung really far in that direction and had like huge workaholic tendencies, just constantly on the laptop nonstop. And it just felt like, to me, it was a weird addiction. It was like compulsion, but also meaningless at the same time, because I didn't really believe in what I was teaching. Like I was teaching business courses, which at some level it was enjoyable, but at the same time, it didn't make my heart feel very happy. So it was more about finding the right fit. But now I think I do work more than a lot of people just because I genuinely love the work that I do.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as discipline hustle culture.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I have felt a lot. And I'm just like, man, I agree with you. There are some people that, you know, that's what they want. They want to grind and hustle, and that's their experience of their dream life. But those people are very loud. And I find like sometimes, you know, online, there's certain personalities that are very loud with their content and pushing that idea of here's how you make money. And there's a lot of, specifically I've seen with young men that follow that. And it's like, that's how I will feel valuable in this world. That's how I will finally be able to be enough in this world, is through hustling and making money. And there's nothing wrong with making money. I think money is great. And I think it enhances your dreams and how you want to impact the world. What do you say to people that are stuck in that hustle culture or that grinding world of, you know, trying to prove their worth, young men specifically?
Well, I have one thing that I would share with myself when I was younger, which is at the time I didn't realize it, but I had this mindset of once I can make enough money in passive income, then I can finally be happy. Then I can start to do the things I love, instead of realizing that I can start to do the things I love now. And maybe I won't make as much money, or it won't be passive money. It'll be like active money that I earn, but it's from something that I'm going to do anyways. Because even if you are a success in that hustle culture and you make all that money, I've also met some entrepreneurs who had massive exits and then they felt purposeless after they had the exit and they got all this windfall of cash because their whole life was built around that hustle mindset. And it was like it filled up a chunk of their life and now the chunk is gone. And it's like, what else do you fill it with? And if you don't know who you are and what you genuinely enjoy, odds are it's just going to be you're in the habit of hustling harder. So you just fill it up with another thing to hustle harder with. Yeah. So I really think it's all about the inner work. I know a lot of people say that, but it's really finding out what makes you happy and then seeing if there's a way you can do it now. Because the idea that you can't do at least a piece of what you love now is more of an idea, I believe, that comes from society. It's not true. Because if we genuinely know what we want, we can start to do tiny bits of it. Like if you, in the book, it's like, if you love to paint, just paint a little bit, like once a week, 10 minutes. Or if you love to write 10 minutes. And then you'll notice how good it feels. And then maybe there'll be less of this need or compulsion to just like grind, thinking that, oh, once I have this money, then I'll feel good. Yeah. But also, as you mentioned, it's always just like a mask to run away from the inner pain of not knowing who we are. And I think that's probably even more of a root cause, to be honest.
Yeah, man. That was what I found, is that I had a fuel in my younger years that because of the pain, I was like, I'm running towards a future where I'll feel valuable. And I went through some abuse. And so it was like, you know, if I can finally be this successful or looked at this way in society, then I'll feel valuable. And I was able to create and accomplish a lot from that fuel, but it wasn't sustainable. And I didn't love my life. It was coming from a place of deep pain and running from the pain. And I see that in a lot of people in the world, that they've created, success for themselves, but it's not coming from a place of their dream life as much as is deep pain and trauma. And they're trying to unconsciously reverse that or deal with that or suppress that. So how do you speak to people who are struggling with that, maybe a pain or trauma from their past that's been controlling their lives or running their life, and how to shift into a place of self-love, like you've been talking about in your books?
Yeah, I would say first of all is you are loved. I mean, I would say this to everyone. You already have all the love you need. I know it may not feel like this, but there's an infinite well of love in your heart that you're always connected to, and there's no shortage of love. So there's no need to get it from sources outside, even if that's what you've learned through your experiences growing up. And yeah, it's just such a tough journey. I mean, I hear you and I've experienced the idea of chasing love, and it's really hard to believe that when you don't feel it.
Yeah,
like
man.
when you don't feel the love, it just feels like if I hustle, it's got to be over here.
Yeah.
And I also feel like a lot of times other people's idea of success is very opposite to what a personal success is like. So it's like so much idealization of having the massive achievements. But what makes, I believe, most people happy is the relatively small everyday things, just like the simple interactions, coffee in the morning, tea, like enjoying the sunshine on your skin without having this constant pressure to do more, be more, perform more. So it's kind of ironic that chasing the good life actually prevents us from experiencing the good life.
Oh man. Yeah. I wish someone would have told me that, but I also needed to experience, a lot of that just to realize this isn't where it is. Like you said, this is not where it's going to be found. Thanks for sharing that, man. I want to ask you one of my favorite questions. I call it the golden ticket. Effectively, it's just a moment for you, Eric, what's your golden ticket moment where maybe it's a letter you receive from somebody, or it's just, somebody coming up to you and saying how much they enjoyed your book, but it's a moment where you just kind of sit back and you say, man, I'm so grateful for my life. I love what I do, and this is just so beautiful. I'm so blessed to be here. What's that moment for you? How would you explain that?
I mean, I'm being honest, like just being here already makes me feel very, very happy, because I've had a fear of being seen. Like I was always behind the scenes sharing the writing through the videos, but I wasn't. And then in the past, when I was in the entrepreneurial world, I shared my face in so many videos, but I was talking about business concepts. I was like teaching what I learned in books. I wasn't teaching what's like true to my heart. And so this is I've done a few other podcasts that I'm also very grateful for and shared from more videos, but I still feel this is one of the first times where I'm talking about the things that I really believe deeply in, while also like showing my face with it and not just hiding behind a book. And it makes me feel so good. I mean,
Awesome,
it's really, this is what it's all about. And I just want to keep doing more of this.
Excellent. Well, I hope you do. I saw your latest post on your Instagram there, which for those of you who don't follow Eric on Instagram, he's also on TikTok. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers, and he posts excerpts from his book. So please give him a follow there. His links will be in the show notes below this video, or in the post that I put about Eric. When we're going to interview him, you can follow him there on TikTok and on Instagram as well. But I love that, man. And I love your latest post on Instagram where you talked about your journey and you talked about your spiritual awakening. And I was like, this is awesome, dude. So I'm loving that. And I think I saw the comments too. People were like, yeah, more of this, man. We want to see more of this. So I'm glad you came on the podcast. I'm glad to see your face and you're sharing what's true to your heart. And I also resonate with that too, man. Like, it's so easy. As part of my previous work as an actor, I'm reading somebody else's script. I'm reading somebody else's, the lines that they wrote, right? So I can do that. But then when it comes time to sharing my heart, sharing what's, important to me and what I'm going through, which is the whole start of this podcast, that was very difficult for me. I started with just audio, and then I started doing video. But over time, it's become more comfortable. And I see the value, just like I feel the value with you being here, sharing from your heart, what this means to you and your mission. It's inspiring to others. It makes them also want to speak up and share their gifts and step out into the world. So thanks, man, for doing that. And I love that golden ticket, right? It's like bringing your gift and expanding it, and now it's through video interviews and more stuff on your social media too, which is great. I love that, man. Awesome. Okay, so a couple more questions, and then we're going to jump to our after party here. Thank you for doing this. I can see your comments here on timehascome.com and backstage here with our sovereign creators. Thank you guys for joining us. One of my favorite questions to ask, Eric, is my magic painting question. And it's a fun one. It's creative. I came up with it while I was on set filming a television show, and it was before everybody had cell phones. And we were sitting around waiting for the lights to get set up and the cameras to be set up there. And this question just kind of dropped into my mind. And it was this. I'm going to ask it to you now. Eric, if you had on your wall a magic painting, and anytime you looked at that magic painting, you could feel any feeling you wanted to feel, any feeling that you wanted to feel to any degree that you wanted to feel it, what feeling would you choose, and what would be on your painting to represent that?
Yeah, I love it. Let's see. I mean, the feeling is self-love. I just have to say that's the first thing that comes up.
Awesome. And what would be on your painting to represent that feeling of self-love? Would it be abstract? Would it be colors? Would it be a scene or a picture?
It's actually a book, a big book that says you're already enough. Love your life as it is.
Wow. Okay. Whose book is that?
It's mine.
Oh, you wrote that. I haven't heard of this. Is this one of your books you've already written?
No, this is just in my visualization in my mind's eye.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, great. So it's a future book.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's symbolic.
Awesome. Do you have colors that you see with this book, or is the book on a table? Is it in a scene? What do you see around the book?
I see like a yellow aura like circling around the book.
Yeah.
And then now the book starts to fade. And I just see a lot of people like with a heart within them vibrating very strongly with yellow in it too. And like they're talking with each other and all their hearts have that yellow aura around it. And it's almost like the book helped activate that, but now the book isn't in the picture. And the people don't even see that it was the book that helped activate it. It was just like they only see what's like glowing in their heart, the yellow aura.
Dude, that's amazing. I love that. What was the name of the book again that you saw in the vision?
I forget. I have to listen to the recording.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. Okay, great. So the follow-up to this, which I love as an actor guy, I always love to understand people's emotions. So self-love, if someone has maybe never experienced it or has struggled with self-love for a big portion of their life, and you were to explain how you feel self-love, I know everyone's going to feel it differently, but how does Eric experience self-love in his body? Is it in his chest? Is it a warm, expansive feeling? What is the feeling like for you in your body when you think of or when you feel self-love?
Yeah, there's this feeling where it starts in the chest and then it expands out. And it also is a quiet mind. And it's just this feeling of, I have these moments sometimes that just come like almost seemingly out of the blue. And it just feels like I want to tell everyone how loved they are. Like I want to just, the moment it fills me up, it's like a compulsion to want to share it with everyone else. And a lot of times like listening to good music makes me feel it. But it's just this feeling of like, there's literally an insane amount. Like there's an infinite amount here. It's just an overflowing well. And it's like, I want to take these buckets and just show it, like literally just like find a pipeline to just like, I got the idea from another book, but just like, I want to share it as much as possible. And that's why I really think self-love isn't selfish, even though it can sound like it sometimes, because when you have an overflow, it's like, there's nothing greater to give. And it's not to give to get anything in return. It feels so good to share it.
Amen.
And that can also help people that have trouble receiving to realize like how good it feels for the giver to give.
Amen.
I mean, it's a little unrelated, but it came up.
No, I love that, dude. Thank you. And so it's a feeling that comes from the chest. It emanates out. It feels like you're filled up with it. But what I thought was so interesting was you said your mind is quiet. Is that what you said? Your mind gets quiet? Yeah. So your mind is quiet, but you're full and emanating this love that's just like overwhelming for you. And it's obviously the color yellow. Okay, sweet. I love it, dude. Thank you for sharing that. And the beautiful thing about this,
Thanks
I'm sure
for guiding it.
For many people watching, that's why I ask these questions, is because as we dive into it, I get to feel it. And everybody else watching is like, oh, cool. I've had people say like peace, And I'm like, okay, so what kind of peace? And they're like, oh, after a long day of hard work, I'm at the top of this mountain. And it's just, I feel like I've accomplished this task that has been so important to me. And I just sit back and I look at the sunset and I feel peace. Like that's very different than somebody else's version of peace, right? So yeah, thank you for detailing that out and sharing that. I also want to ask one more question here before we wrap up and we go to the after party, is you talk about channeling your books and your material. I have never felt what that's like before. I've had things come to me and I write them down, but I've never understood what channeling is. So can you explain what that process was like for you when you started channeling these words in these books? Was it scary for you? Is there ever times that you sit down to write and the channel was closed and you had to open it back up? Can you explain that whole process for someone who's maybe never experienced it before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone could channel, and I think everyone does channel in their own way. So when you share that story of how you came up with that guided visualization, it's very beautiful. It was just, it dropped into your head. To me, that's the form of channeling. Like, it just like came out of nowhere beyond thought. So for me, it's anything that's without thinking, which isn't to say thinking is bad, but that's my version of channeling, my idea.
Yeah.
And whenever I write now, it's just, I take out a blank piece of paper and a pencil, and then I sit and I just take a deep breath in. And then I imagine that my mind, my thoughts is like a turbulent lake, and I just let it get still. And always there's this voice in the back of my head that's like, it's not going to work this time. The words aren't going to come every single time. And then I just stay there long enough. And then eventually it's like, I just feel it. And then the words start coming through. So my mind has enough evidence to believe that it will keep happening. And yet every single time I sit down to write, it keeps happening.
Wow. Okay. So there's never been a time where you've sat down to write and you're like, you do your breath, you tune in, and then it doesn't happen. It doesn't work. It's always just you've stayed with it and then it happens.
Yeah, it always happens, but sometimes it can be very short. So it's not always like a long message. Like, it could just be a very like sentence or two, like basic, specific to my life, telling me like how I can feel now, or like what I should know at this moment. But in the moment, when I first had this happen to me, I was very scared because I didn't know what was going on. And I thought maybe, because just like stuff I read, like, is this some other energy? Like, is this me, or is this some other entity? Or like, all that stuff that I see from movies and TV shows. And I was like, damn, what is going on? This is such a weird feeling. But then over time, I learned that this is my higher self. And my personal belief is we're all an eternal soul who chooses to come to earth and temporarily incarnate as a human being. So then when I see it through that lens, it's easier for me to realize like, this is a way to connect with my higher self.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. I've heard some people say, and I'm thinking about specific people in my family, that they struggle with the idea of channeling or meditation because they're worried or concerned about dark entities or other things that don't have their best intentions in mind coming through them. How do you navigate that, and how do you protect yourself, or is that even a concern for you? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can only speak to my own experience, so I don't want to share for anyone else. But for me, the scariest thing is my own power, like my own soul. Not because it's not beautiful. I think our souls are pure love, but just because I know it has the power to radically change my life from my ego's perspective. And that just scares me because change is scary, even if it's great change. And as far as the dark energies, like if I feel there's a bad presence in the room or like something not right, I just tune into my heart, and then I feel like somehow I can protect myself. It's just not something to worry about. I think there's no reason to be afraid of your deeper self. And I think the more you set the intention to connect with that self in whichever way is good for you, it's always good. I mean, in my experience, again, I can't speak for anyone else, but I think the way that we connect is dependent on the individual. So there's no one size fits all. Like for some people it's writing, for some people it just drops in. And when it comes to the dark energies, I just feel that I tend to underestimate my power. And I think a lot of other people do as well. I think our light is always more powerful than any darkness. And it's just like any room is dark, but the moment you turn on the light, it's like the darkness just goes away. Yeah. So when we connect with our inner light, I feel like then we don't have to fear the darkness.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for that. That's something that I haven't personally experienced when meditating or even doing my own writing. I've never experienced some sort of dark energy trying to take over me. But some people are really concerned about that. So I wanted to kind of bring that into the conversation because, in the context of channeling, there are people that channel all sorts of things. So sometimes it gets a bad name in terms of like, oh, how do you know you're not channeling, some dark entity that's trying to manipulate you or lie to you? And it gets concerning for some people. So I appreciate you sort of detailing that, because I agree with you that it's from the heart space, the amount of love and the light that's in us all that can, if we tune into it and we focus on it, it's all the protection we need. But I think that if we put our attention on those energies, then it can create fear, right? And that's what those energies, I believe, feed off of, is that fear within us, right? So if we're tapping into fear, or we're tuning into that fear, then that's the breeding ground for this to kind of take place. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you being here, man, and sharing what you did. We're going to launch into our after party now, but I want to give you the floor.
Okay, just one quick thing on that point.
Yeah.
I always think that personally for channeling, it's always, I set the intention to connect with my soul, my higher self, and never set the intention to connect with like another source. I went through a phase where I was thinking like, oh, I should connect with the, archangel or some kind of energy outside of me that's really good. But now I just always tell myself like, okay, this is just from my higher self, what message comes through. So I think having that clear intention can also help.
Nice. Thank you for that additional comment there, because I think that's really wise too. Thanks, Eric. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up here and we head over to the after party? I want to give you the floor for last words for people that are watching this podcast. Maybe this is their first time meeting you, or they'd like to continue learning from you, listening to you. Any parting words or farewell message for the audience?
Yeah, definitely trust yourself. That's probably the biggest message I would say. If you trust yourself, your intuition will lead you where you're meant to be, and life will open up doors for you where they once were closed. And I know it doesn't seem like that if you try to logically plan out the steps, but even on my journey to self-love, it started with an obsession with following my intuition. And I kept saying, whatever my intuition tells me to do, I'll do. But then I was kind of like too much about it, where it's like every decision is like, let me consult my intuition, where it's like, instead of just like living life, but it still never did me wrong. Like it led me on the path to self-love when I didn't know where to go. So I think you already know the way, even if it doesn't feel like it, and just focus on taking the next right step. And you just take that one step, and then I promise like the next right step will show itself after you take that step. But the path always presents itself one step at a time. And your path is not my path. It's not anyone else's path. So it's not necessary to ask other people where to go. It'll just be more confusing because you already know where to go.
I got a question for you. Why'd you stay to the end? Most people only listen to the first 15, 20% of a podcast, but you listened all the way through, which puts you in the top 10, 15% of people that listen to podcasts. So what was it? Maybe you have a question. Maybe there's something you're working on. Maybe there's a fascinating insight that you have. I would love to hear it. That's why I built timehascome.com as a community for you to share your insights and your questions. After the podcast, we launch into the after party with my guests, and you get a chance to ask your question, continue the conversation, learn more, and dig deeper into the topics covered. So if that sounds interesting to you, head on over to timehascome.com and leave a comment. Share with me what you found interesting, insightful, a question you have. And if you want to join for my next podcast recording and ask your question live to my guest, sign up, become a paying member. I'd love to have you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.